Okay, well, welcome everybody. It is December 18th, Hanover Public Art Commission meeting.
Thank you, Mary. We want to go ahead and get started with Chief Kennedy and the presentation for the fire station. And we'll let
Amazing.
people come in as they can. Yes.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. For those I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, Mike Kennedy, Fire Chief. So I'm going to work on trying to share a screen here and then kind of go through a presentation that we have.
Mary, I just want to make sure we're recording too, correct? Okay, thank you.
Are you seeing my screen or
Not
are you?
yet.
No.
Okay.
Looks like we're starting to.
Yep.
Okay.
Everything's kind of slow tonight. There we go.
All right.
Perfect. We
Is that seeing it okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so for those kind of unfamiliar, this has been a project that's been going on since 2018, and this is to replace Fire Station 4, which is on the east side of the city, southeast side, Huron Parkway and Platte. So the intersection that you're seeing here is the Huron Parkway and Platte intersection. The station was originally built in the early 60s, has not had any sort of major renovation to it since then. Was designed well before um, uh, women in the fire service was thought of. So grossly antiquated for current needs and a diverse workforce. We actually just got the bids back yesterday on this, and the amount that the bids came back with is within what we had primarily budgeted for. So the bids came, the highest bid was 10,700,000. The low bid was 9 million. We had 8 contractors bid on it. And so the fact that we had 8 contractors basically bid in a pretty tight grouping for most part is we were very happy with. We have a panel that's made up of fire facilities and sustainability that's going to be reviewing the proposals in early 25. It will be using the city's best value procurement, so it's not going to be low bid. This will be depending on how quickly we move, this will be the first net zero fire station in the state of Michigan. We were at one point going to be first to the east in the Mississippi, but funding ran or this project got stalled for quite some time because of funding. We had hoped that ARPA funding was going to be used for it, but it graded very poorly with the public, unfortunately, when that process played out about 3 years ago now. So this is an overhead shot. This is looking north. So this is a south view looking north. Huron Parkway is to the left here. Platte is kind of also to the left. A big issue with this station now is that we have to back in off Huron Parkway. And for those that are familiar, there's a lot of line of sight issues, there's elevation issues. So this is will allow us to basically pull in, and then when we respond out, we'll have control of the intersection. So it's a huge safety issue. We're addressing literally dozens of issues with this building. The local architect is A3C, which is an Ann Arbor architect. To their credit, they partnered with a very big national firm called TCA, which is a West Coast firm, which has done other net zero fire stations. So this is something that's still relatively new in the fire service. There's probably about a dozen nationwide. The first ones to do it were Salt Lake City, and TCA designed those. So we feel we've got a very strong architectural team for this. we did get a lot of questions from the bidders during the process about this art component. And so we had told them that the price of the art would not be, they wouldn't have to worry about it, but they're going to have to work with kind of whatever we come up with, which unknown kind of wasn't there. I don't think a lot of them felt real warm and fuzzy about that, but we had to kind of move forward with the project. So what so kind of another shot looking north. What we have 10, so this is now looking south. So this is if you were standing on Huron Parkway looking south, the intersection here is Platte Road. Um, the public art component was something that when we started with the architect, literally in 2018, we knew that this was going to be part of it. And so an area that we had conceptually thought of that would do well is this wall that's going to face Huron Parkway. Um, that again, whether it's and that's really kind of what I'll be looking for from this group or kind of the process going forward. Obviously, to say public art is outside of my area of expertise would be an understatement. So um, I'm trying to build a fire station and looking for guidance from all of you of kind of how to make this work. Um, it's not so I want to be real firm. We're not saying this has to be a mural. It was just the architect that designed it thought this would be a good spot. There's obviously a lot of green space, so if there's a desire to do something else, that's I guess kind of the conversation I'm looking to have. But this the other side of that wall is utility space. So that's why there's no windows. It's utility space, it's the apparatus bay, obviously on the other side. So those are just it's utility rooms. They probably could do additional landscaping there if we decide that that's not going to be the space that something occurs on. But given the layout of the station, that facing the roadway, it seemed that made about as most sense as anything. The uh this is another fire station, but this is an actual picture of the product that wall is going to be. And it's kind of this modular, um, uh, it's kind of meant to look like wood, but it's not. It's a synthetic product that's so the other side of this is going to be cement block though. So if there was a desire to hang something, there'd be the ability to run anchors through this. This is just the exterior product. The it'll be cement block on the other side of it. That'll be part of the structure. The color that they went with, the rest of it is this classic oak, and I can provide all the kind of details of what this product is. And again, I want to be uh, very consistent that we're not saying this is what it has to be. This is just what we thought about. Um, so also just kind of looking, there's a lot of in kind of preparing for this meeting and kind of dealing with this project over the last 6 years, have been trying to see what other communities have done. This was out in Phoenix, I believe. So kind of a neat sculpture that almost goes kind of two-dimensional to three-dimensional. This is Arlington County. So Arlington County is just south of DC, across the Potomac. They did this is a nozzle, and this is lit at night. So it's kind of this water. It's meant to be the stream of water coming up from this nozzle. Without this is probably one of the neater ones. So this is New Orleans, and they did a mural, and so they have a firefighting crocodile and all this other very creative stuff. So I've actually seen this station, and similar, this is a wall of a station along a major thoroughfare. So um, just that they used obviously a mural concept for that. Um, uh, Raleigh, this is a conceptual station. I don't think they've built this one yet. So they've got obviously kind of a flame. I think this one is on the west side. Obviously kind of a Dalmatian. It's interesting because so most of obviously the fire service has a lot to work with, either with Dalmatians or helmets, or I mean there's a lot of iconography with the fire service, and not to say that this has to be fire centric. I certainly kind of have my thoughts on that, but I don't want to bias. Again, go open to that. The city, without question, that has had the most public art incorporated into fire stations has been Seattle. They've had a very aggressive program for a very long time. It seems from what, and they have a whole website that's kind of devoted to this. Um, it seems for Seattle, half of it has something to do with the fire service. The other half is just simply public art at a fire station. And so this is obviously just public art at a fire station. Um, but they've had a very long standing, and to Seattle's credit, they've built a bunch of stations. Another part that I should probably include in this is for Ann Arbor, for a variety of reasons, and there's a lot of blame to go around. We have not built a new fire station since 1981. We are woefully behind in terms of facility planning. This is one of three stations that needs to be rebuilt. So there's this one, there's the one at Vets Park, and there's the one that's actually on U of M property, that's actually owned by U of M on North Campus off Plymouth and Beale. So my hope would be in the next 10 years, excuse me, the next 10 years, this is one of three that are going to be rebuilt. All of them are at a aging condition where remodeling is not advisable. They need to be leveled and just start from scratch. And all of them have woefully inadequate facilities for gender inclusive for our gender inclusive workforce. So this is Seattle at the top. So this is stained glass, which was pretty cool. So that's their station number. So they incorporated this. This was kind of, I think, more part of the design of the station. Um,
That's my one. I do have a question about that, Chief Kennedy. If we're talking about the aesthetics, so within that area right now, along the corridor, um, my opinion, this is just my own opinion, is that art um, doesn't have to always be a sculpture. And I think that's something that you're saying. But within the design of the building, art could be in that as well. Or are there certain requirements that you have to have for the station, whether it be that would
Yeah,
impact
so
that?
at this point, and I guess kind of whether good or bad, but I need to be upfront from an architectural perspective, and since the construction design has already gone out for bid, we really lack the ability to incorporate art into the design of the building itself at this point. So it would really either have to be something on that exterior wall or something that is um, uh, on the site that's proximate to the station. But uh, um, we there are some glass features, and I can kind of pull it up. So this is just another one in Seattle. So and I'll go back to the
So there could also be sculptures, but there could also be opportunities to use the exterior portion outside of the building. It could also, right? So, okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of green space here. The other part of this is that's been challenging with this project is the Scheffler Park is directly south of the station. So part of this is actually so this discharge that's going onto Platte Road, we're actually having to use parkland. So part of a quid pro quo that we did as part of public outreach with this that was actually 3 years ago now at this point, and working with the Parks Commission is that we are doing very extensive renovations to Scheffler Park. which is actually on there's a creek just to the east of this. So Scheffler Park actually is on both sides of this creek. And so we're redoing a basketball court. We're doing a lot of drainage improvement. And so there's a lot of it. So this part down here is actually part of Scheffler Park. So again, whether we have a lot of room that something could go. My concern is if I were to say, hey, we want the architect to incorporate something into the building, I think we'd probably be dealing with very expensive change from both the architect and um the group that the ones that have submitted bids at this point. That would be a change from what was bid. So
Thank you. Mhm. So if I'm on that bend there, am I taking that bend going around? Am I on Platt at this point, and which takes me around up to Platt Road and
So if here if you make a left, you'd be on Platte Road. If you continue north on this, you go up to Washtenaw.
gotcha.
Yeah. And most people don't even realize there's a station there. It's a very nondescript building. It does nothing for the local community. It is one of the myself and others I will rejoice with it being torn down. It is it's a horror. Our people hate working out of it. It's there
No.
is no redeeming quality to that building. So this is also going to be a very um again with it's going to have solar, it's going to have geothermal. We've been working with sustainability is that on the walkway there'll be signage that indicates to the public the net zero features of this building. So there's going to be some educational aspects to it, but this is going to go from a detractor to the area to something that I think is going to be a showpiece and something that hopefully in the residents of that southeast area are going to be very proud to have in their neighborhood.
So it will house how many trucks?
So right now it's there's a single engine company that's out of it. Some of you may know that we've kind of been expanding into the EMS service with some issues we've been having with our current ambulance provider. So it's being built to eventually be able to house a fire engine and an ambulance. So for kind of future growth. I mean, we know we're gonna have this. The old one we had for 60 years, this one we're probably gonna have for 60 years. So we made sure it wasn't just built for today's needs, but we forecast out. So, but it'll be able to very comfortably uh, suit six firefighters, and so that's
What kind of timeline are you talking about?
so we're hoping to the city's going to do bonding for this. So the finance team has already been working with bond counsel. Um, so we are going to be grading the proposals in January, early part of January, probably interviewing the top two or three, the later part of January, early February. Probably hope to have a vendor identified by the end of February, negotiations in March, with it going to council in April, and we're hoping to break ground this calendar year. And the architect is forecasting about a 18-month build time. So unfortunately, we are going to have a service gap during this time. There's really no way around it. As all of you know, real estate's pretty hard to come by in the city. So we couldn't, in a perfect world, we would have built the station close and without having to knock the current one down, but there was no available land for us to try to acquire as part of this project. So
And did you say for the art part of it, there is a budget?
so we haven't in working with finance for this, my intent would be based on the feedback we get from this meeting. We would add that to the amount that we bond. So I'll just use simple math. If we award the bid for $10 million and the decision by this group is I'll just say 50,000 for whatever for the art piece of it, we would add that to whatever the bond amount is. So And we've got some time before that. And that was one. I wasn't too sure if there's kind of been a standard of a certain percentage that there's been an expectation for this. And again, really looking to the expertise of this group for kind of some guidance. Um, so
I don't know if Anita would know that or not. We have two members who've been on for a while. They might, John, I'm thinking would know what that percent is. It's been a while since there's been a project that's actually had funding for art.
yeah, that's been my understanding as well.
Yeah.
So this is not a lot of people have been involved in this. So
But
With the CIP projects, it's typically been 1% of the total budget. So I would say that's the minimum. But if you're looking for sculpture, that tends to be pricier, because you're looking at the piece of art itself, but then also the installation of that art. So I did have a question about the wall itself, actually, because it looked like it had the front part and then it turned around that wooden or the faux wood
yeah,
wall. That so you could actually have something that kind of wraps around
pot-
so you can see it.
potentially, yeah. And it's actually kind of one story. So yeah, there's some I've I've learned with creative types to more not try to create like not to say we want X because generally what they come up with will far exceed anything we thought of. So
And I think, within that too, it is good to have some guidelines, like you said, the iconography of firefighting. I mean, having that be a part of the call to art, I don't think would necessarily be a bad idea, because people can be very creative within given some sort of guideline like that.
yeah, I mean it could just and that's the other part too is I don't know what again looking to the expertise of this group of if no we would if you would all prefer that it's more just free range or we would hey if there is a tie or we could say like hey preference or what have you might be given to if there is a fire service tie into it. Not to say that has to be in case somebody comes back with something really cool. Again, I on a personal level that would be my vote. But again, I'm not. I'm part of this. I'm not uh the sole decider here. So again, looking for input.
Are we allowed to have an art commissioner participate on panels? Have we done that recently, or has it been a while since we've done something like that
In what way, Vanita?
as part of the panel?
To decide the art or?
Yes.
Well, we're
Yes.
doing it now. I'm sitting on the panel for the DDA,
Okay.
reviewing submissions for the Liberty Plaza.
Okay.
Does that
That's what
relate to
I'm
your
asking.
question?
Yes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
We did that with the water treatment.
Mm-hmm,
Right.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, too.
so we can, and this project made me think, I'm working on the farmers market one, the
Mhm.
wayfinding project. And Mike, talk about being blown away by what creative people come up with. We
That-
went through a whole folder of proposals, and the things were related to the farmers market or to plants and growing, because that was what it was about. But like the materials and things that they used, there was like a lot of cut metal, and it was pretty amazing. So yeah, I think if we can put a call for entry, I mean, when you write a
Mm-hmm.
proposal, you do a call for entries, you'll be surprised at what you come up with.
that-
And some
yeah.
of them were national artists, but I was surprised because I read their resumes. A lot of them were local, a lot of Detroit artists, which I tend to think people always like to use local art, Michigan type artists, but they were from all over the country. But I was blown away by So what we did is I think there were 12 different proposals and we had to limit it down to 5. And then they had to be more specific with their ideas and money, the budget and stuff. So, and I don't know, I was just thinking today, I haven't heard anything about them, but it's a process. So it's good you started now.
Agreed.
Yeah, and that's been a concern with the contractors because obviously if there's like, hey, we need to pour a cement base or something, well, they would want to do that when they do the concrete work. So we have, I think we have time, but we don't have a ton of time.
Right.
So if it's just going to be, well, they want to once it's up and we're going to paint something on the wall, well, that's a different conversation. Um,
Are you
so.
interested in having a art commissioner participate if we have the bandwidth to do that for somebody on the group?
Yes. So,
Okay.
so I kind of, so a couple of things that I was hoping to get from tonight is if that 1% is where we're at. I mean, quick math, $10 million, that puts it at 100,000. I mean, to me, that's a lot of money for a piece of art. I mean, I get that things are scalable, but um, that would start to help kind of narrow this if this group thinks that that's a reasonable amount to kind of put towards this, or I guess that's kind of an initial feedback point I was hoping to get a flavor on tonight.
Well, the other thing, I think it really does depend on kind of what the artwork is. If it's, say, a life-size sculpture, you're gonna cast it in bronze and all of that sort of thing. It may be a lot more expensive than other kinds of materials. The other thing in terms of thinking about whatever goes up, is the maintenance of it. Would the fire department be the go-to place when in 2 years, if it's a mural, it needs to be refreshed, or thinking about putting some funding in for maintenance of the artwork, I think is a great.
Yeah, and that's another one that I have significant concern over because that, I mean, this will be our building and we're going to have to take care of that. And anything with general fund is very limited. So for us to commit to that, we're going to have these thousands of dollars of ongoing costs is going to be very challenging for us to do that. So that where I didn't want to exclude something, but concern would be for a mural, like how's that going to look in 5 years? And maybe the building's held up, but this mural hasn't. And again, we're only going to have the funding for this because we're bonding for it. If there's that would be something that, well, I'm going to have to ask for money for general funds to rehab artwork instead of replacing equipment, and that's kind of a tough one for public safety. So,
Well, I can speak to the longevity of mural projects. The material that you have right now, this synthetic wood, it looks like it has some gaps in between it, the way
yeah,
it's going to be installed. My recommendation would be if you are to go the route of mural, to have it done on aluminum panels. The art could be fabricated off-site and installed. Very easy for any kind of restoration, removal, replacing, and then the integrity of your building remains the same regardless.
gotcha. Okay.
So just to give you an idea, Tree Town Murals is presently contracted with an organization. We're doing a 10-foot by 80-foot paneled mural in our shop, delivering it to the west side of the state for 60,000, finished, delivered. Installation will cost about 5. So
Oh, that's super helpful. Thank you. So that's
mhm.
and again, that's all. I don't have any knowledge of that, and that's where I guess when so part of this too of would you all think that we would target it for we do a mural or we say no we make it that proposal is more wide open and see what it comes back with.
that's fine. An example of that in our community is what you see along across Michigan Stadium. That proposal went out with $100,000 price tag.
Okay.
It was a more general throw for creative ideas. I think the idea is that things could be low relief, or which is kind of slightly three-dimensional, or two-dimensional. So there's these kind of taglines that you have to kind of think about. So this wouldn't be a bronze sculpture necessarily, but it could have metal components that are affixed. It is nice to, if $100,000 will go really fast, because you're also talking about the time of people that are helping this come together. So there's all sorts of admin, the creativity, the install. So that budget, in my opinion, looks more like a mural or low relief, potentially sculptural, low relief sculpture, ceramic, mosaic components. Can anybody else speak to the difference of having something that maybe is more mounted and bronzed? I mean, are we talking more like $2 to $500,000 for something like that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I think when you get into bronze, it can, when you get into metal and things like that, the price tag can go up really quickly. And I don't know what the maintenance for that is like. I know with ceramics, freeze thaw climates like we have can be a big
Good, yeah.
issue, and something that you might have to consider with maintenance. I don't think you have to leave out the idea of other mediums like ceramics, metals, relief, when it comes to that. Call for art. But it's going to get more pricey when you move away from murals, I think, in general.
Well, speaking about ceramics, it could be mosaics that could kind of blend, both ceramics or, clay and imagery that we might associate with a mural. So that's another option. Thinking about a mosaic artist.
Beautiful mosaics at the Mathai Botanical Gardens, which are on exterior walls. They have a little bit of coverage, but those are out all year, so that's a good point.
I guess my feeling is that you should just perhaps cast the net wide in terms of people coming up with ideas. Maybe you might have a theme that you want, like fire and water. It looked like a lot of the places that you showed either were doing something with a water theme or a fire and flames theme. But I mean, it could be that sort of theme, or as you said, fighter iconography. But giving the artists a general kind of idea of what kinds of themes, and let them kind of come up with ideas about what that form should be or could be. I like kind of keeping it open.
Yeah, and I guess that's also some helpful feedback if others have thoughts of again, if I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't going to be heartburn if we did have something that trying to use something in that fire service lexicon, if you will, of hoses, not like again, it's there's a lot of ground to kind of cover when you kind of think about, as you had pointed out, a lot of different a lot of different artists took that in very different
Ways, yeah.
way. Yeah.
I agree with Marianetta having a theme, but keeping the mediums really open
Okay.
be a great way to have that call for art. And the fact that it's one of a dozen net zero fire stations in the country, you'd probably want to call attention to the fact that this is a fire station, and that it's, built in this new way.
Yeah, there's no question this building's going to get a lot of attention in the state and Midwest. So,
Great. And so do you have within like your power ready to move, like when you're ready to move forward, how to you can put out a call for entries. You know how
uh,
to do that. Okay.
yeah, so Miss Harrison shared some kind of a prior thing that had been put out. I just really needed the opportunity to speak with all of you to make sure that again, I was kind of knew what the guardrails were because again, this is all to say this is all new to me would be an understatement. So, yeah,
You're
I
doing
just
really well. You're doing really well. You're asking the right questions and you presented it very well. We appreciate that.
okay. Well, thank you.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
it's exciting. I think it's
Yeah,
a really
absolutely.
exciting project.
Yeah, so in terms of my um based on this meeting, my hope would be that if there's one or more from this group that are willing to kind of be part of the review team, that I intended to have the kind of the call for proposal drafted by the end of January and potentially released by early February, for us to then kind of start going with that. The price would also be, again, helpful because that is what we are going to incorporate for what we go for council approval to basically sell the bonds for the construction. So again, if it's that 1%, um, uh, again, I don't really have a barometer of if that was going to be enough. And we're just at the point where we can incorporate that. Um, would it generally be appropriate as part of that call for proposal to say we're looking for the budget to be under 100,000? I mean, is that so at least again, so some artist isn't coming up with some like bronze, like some like cast bronze thing that's going to be $250,000 that um uh to just kind of I think maybe anchor expectations by artists or
Absolutely. I
okay.
think,
Yeah, Mary has more experience in creating public art.
Vanita, maybe we could share a few examples of RFPs that have been sent out recently, because there are some, including what the Art Center has been up to, just to kind of give an example of the language and the pricing, how they net artists with the dollar amounts. Typically, there's an amount that is what's going to be awarded, and you have to
Okay.
be, the artist has, or the artist team has to be able to budget inside that, and they have to be able to show those
Okay.
line items. So
As part of their
if that
okay.
includes installation, that
Okay.
100,000 will include the install as well. And so
Okay.
I think that sounds like a generous number, considering you're looking for something that is more to or low relief.
And Mary, isn't the process, at least I don't have much experience with this, except this last committee that I just served on, where the artists tend to present kind of a general idea. And then once it's narrowed down to like 5 or 6 specific artists, they come back and they get more specific about the project? Or is there a variety of ways it can be done?
There's two ways that I'm familiar with.
Okay.
There's the request for proposals, an RFP, or a request for qualifications, an RFQ.
Okay.
I personally love the RFQs because you can show your past work. You can defend who you are as an artist or an artist team and show that you're capable of working with the fire department to design something so site specific that they are a part of the conversation. When you request proposals, you get artists that will throw designs out there, but you often kind of attach that artist with that design. You don't give them a lot of any more chance to kind of move outside of that. I feel like it's very limiting. And this is just from my creative perspective of having applied for these projects. I like to be able to show that I'm more than qualified to do the job for you. Here are 15 examples of amazing works of art that we've completed for all these, or you can get people because they're not getting paid to do that
Right.
part of it. And so some will get
Yeah.
super lazy on it, and then you'll get people that will spend a ton of time, and you're like, ugh, I don't love that. Or, so show me what you got, and then come into the fold and work with this team that then can inform what you want to see. So you're looking for artists that are capable, can advise and do the job based on past experience. A lot of people go for proposals. The Art Center seems to love that. They want to make artists dance, 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 dance. And I think that's a lot to ask. And I don't think we end up with the best result.
So if you do the qualification process, would you then select like maybe two or three, or would you say or would you say we want to go with you, but now we need to refine it? Well, I guess I understand the kind of the first step of show us you can. What's
That's
kind of
great.
step two with that?
So a step two would be narrow it down to 5 artists, and then you could give $500 to each artist team to now flesh out your idea. Now that you've been selected, you get a chance you get a little bit more information. Now we want to see what you have. Here is more information from us about what we want to see. Can you now do a design? Here is some money to support that. That doesn't mean you're going to win the proposal.
Right.
But if you're talking about 100,000, you may have a little bit of money to do that. You may have a little extra money. And then you really get to meet people. You get to meet the artists that you'd be collaborating with. There might be a little more time involved in the planning if that's the case. But in my experience, you really get what you want in that regard.
And I will also just add, having just been on the selection committee, I was disappointed that we were sent a folder with all of the proposals and we just did it individually on our own. We ranked the top 5 people, whereas I would have preferred to be in a group like this and have people kind of talking about, well, this fits this idea, or I like this design. Anyway, it was very individual, and I guess as an artist, I like talking about art with other people, and it felt really lonely. I don't even know what the other people thought of the design. So when you do finally get your proposals, I think it'd be great to get your group. Didn't mean to hit that. So that was my take on that.
And that's been our
Go
approach
ahead. Sorry.
with this project as well. So
Yeah.
When you went out for architectural bids, was it people actually designed it ahead of time for you, or was it more qualifications? Like we like this firm.
So it was a request for proposal, and it was um, uh, the general layouts of the site were kind of thrown out there. The fact that it was net zero was a non-negotiable, and so that was a big one of because fire stations are pretty unique creatures. There's a lot of industry standards there. It's not just a garage with like offices attached to it. So it was really finding somebody that could not only that had public safety, fire service kind of experience, but that also could deal with the challenges in net zero. And there was a lot of very big powerhouse architects, but they had no experience in the net zero field. So that was a challenge for us. And I think we got six bids back when we went out. And again, this is initially this is pre-COVID. I mean, how long we've been dealing with this thing. So
And so are you saying that we had to go with did you have recent bids, or did the bids go that far back?
oh no. So we had the architect. So we had the architect was like 2019 is when we did the architectural plans. And that's been kicked around for a long time. This project has been shelved for 18 months
Right.
because we didn't have the funding for it. And fortunately, through support with Mr. Mahoney and council now, there's a willingness to bond for it. So,
Just one last piece to add with the selection process. So once you've narrowed down artists, once you've had your RFP or RFQ, and you narrow them down, it is public art. So having a consensus from the public is something to consider. Um, Once you do potentially pay those artists to come up with uh, proposals, that there is a way to gather public feedback on what they would like to see.
um, certainly, and happy to do what's asked. Understanding just the challenges of that. What has generally been the route, or I guess kind of the expectation to gather that? Because obviously public feedback can mean a lot of different things to different people.
It can, and I believe that was part of the Stadium Bridge project.
Okay.
Part of it was getting public support, or, the reaction against that project was not having enough
Yeah.
public input. So it is
Okay.
it is just something to consider when it comes to public art, that obviously prolongs the process and can be difficult to gather. But I think with the support of, the city's communications, when with M Live finding out a way to put some sort of public poll, it's just something to consider anytime it's public
No,
art.
I understand. So we'll understand.
And we just recently did that with the flag design, right? Vanita, I don't know how many responses you got, but people were able to get online and vote for what they like best, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean that's a simple one. If it's, hey, we'll throw it up on a website and advertise the website, and at least that way we've shown some degree of outreach there. And I would um uh would it be appropriate that obviously there's kind of a review panel that, like, hey, these are the top three designs, so
Mhm.
we've already kind of been able to herd cats, if you will. Okay.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
say whatever, if you couldn't decide between those three, either, any of those would be fantastic in your opinion, and then
That's okay.
put it up to a
Mhm.
public vote.
Okay. That's an easy one. That's okay. It kind of narrows what we're asking the public to solicit feedback on, which is helpful. So,
And
because
there's always going to be people who complain and don't like
uh,
it. It's kind of the way it is with
Really?
our.
it's
So are
yeah.
you
So
all set?
we
Go ahead, Chief.
no. So we really struggled with that with the park improvements for this project that we did mailers, we did all this stuff, and honestly spent an awful lot of money and got crickets. And so
Oh.
we're like, well,
Mm.
apparently no one, we kind of
Mm.
took the no news, good news sort of thing. And at
Mhm.
least we could say in hindsight of, hey, we
Yeah.
did do all this work and was happy to do it. It just, and I get that's all kind of the public sphere. It did feel that we did a lot of staff time that didn't really generate anything. And I get sometimes that's just a needed, sometimes you have to check that box, and I
Yeah.
understand that. So, um, so is the I guess to just kind of circle back, does that 100,000, I mean, is that, I'm kind of sensing that
Can I help
that's,
you really quick?
please, yes.
If we got a teeny bit of a limitation here because we started late. My question for you is if you can provide me with some additional questions that you might have and areas that you might want some additional input, we can certainly share that back with you.
Okay.
Um, I think that would be more helpful, because once you start moving, it might seem as though it's really daunting right now, but technically, once you start moving, you've got a lot of information right now, and you're on the right page and you're on the right track. And additional information from Mary and Sarah and the entire commission here, we can certainly help with any other questions that you might
Okay.
have. So don't feel like you got to put everything all in one place right now. We can help with you later, get some of this more finalized.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. So in terms of, uh, I guess what I was hoping to start working on in January would be this, and I do like that request for qualifications. I think that leaves it a little bit more open-ended. So kind of start working on that. Would the process be, is there like a rep or two from this group that would work with me on that, or would this whole body want to see that RFQ before it goes out?
We have other members who aren't participating this evening, so we could open
Okay,
it up to the entire commission and
okay.
maybe like to have two people raise their hand or
That
to
that
help and
okay,
support. So we
okay.
can ask the others and include those that we don't have this evening, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that sounds fantastic.
Okay.
And then I know when we were working through this process with the uh, excuse me, Parks and Rec Commission, um, there was like certain benchmarks that they wanted basically us to kind of circle back with them before we went forward. Would that be like a, hey, once we do the initial RFQ process, or and I don't know what the cadence is for the meetings of this group either. So just to make sure that I'm reporting back in a what are thoughts on how often you're gonna
Well, my opinion is this. We don't have our entire commission here, so we
okay,
have people who've not heard about this at all.
gotcha.
So I
Okay.
would prefer to have it open to the entire group. And we won't be able to do that because this is our last meeting for this year.
Okay.
But we could do some other things by maybe setting some online meetings and having the group get together maybe for a half hour, 45 minutes to specifically talk about your project and see who's interested in participating moving forward.
Okay. All right. No, that do you meet monthly? I apologize of not knowing the normal.
Our next meeting, if we approve the schedule tonight, I think is January.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. No, that's great. That doesn't keeps
Okay.
us right where we need to go. So
Okay.
thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. I appreciate that. I think we all appreciate that. It's wonderful
Yeah.
information, and you've got some wonderful, valuable knowledge here with art. So please know and understand that we can help you. They can
Okay.
help you.
Okay.
You need anything else from me this week or the next couple of weeks or so? Again, we'll try to get some more tag teaming with the commissioners here and then circle back with you.
Okay. That sounds great.
Okay. Thanks, Chief
Thank-
Kennedy. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Benita, did you need me to stick around for anything, or am
I
I
don't, I think
okay?
we're all set if you're all set.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
That
Chief.
sounds great.
Thank you.
I hope everyone have good holidays. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You
Bye-bye.
too.
Bye.
Appreciate everybody helping with that. He's such an awesome person and seems to be very, 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 I think this is an important project for him. So I think he's looking at it from all angles, which
Mhm.
I'm really happy about and excited. So as we have to look, I want to go back a little bit and just make the meeting truly appropriate to say that I was trying to see if we had more folks come on. So could I do a call for participants for this evening's Public Art Commission meeting? And today is what, December 18th? And we're a little late in the evening, so I have to apologize for that. And just a roundtable of who's present right now. Mary Thiefels, thank you.
Present in Grass Lake.
Sarah Fuller,
Present in Chelsea.
Marinetta Porter,
President in Arbor.
Peggy Leonard.
Present in Ann Arbor.
Thank you. Thanks. How are you? Good morning. I mean, good evening.
I didn't know we are starting at 7:30, so I came in late. I saw Sarah's message, so I came on
That's okay.
part of that.
My Zoom did not work, and so we are wonderful Mary has got us all connected for this meeting this evening. So I'm sure that John probably was a little frustrated, but I will reach out to him tomorrow to just to tag team with him.
Sure. I'm present in Ann Arbor.
Thank you. So did you want to look at did folks have time to look at the annual report? Okay, good.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Yeah, I updated. Oh, see. I updated, yeah, but there was one paragraph which wasn't so clear about. So I don't know who added that chapter, like on the last page. I could share, right? If I can share this.
Yep.
Where is the share? Share this. Okay, this is the share. Did you see this one?
We can see, yes.
Okay, yes, it's all I did a little bit editing. I removed some not very clear images and then make it simpler. And then when we come to this section, we have this one, a metamorphosis of the tree. So this part, I try to revise it, but then I realized I don't get it. So
That is the new piece that's going down into the City Hall lobby just outside of the customer service area. We have ordered materials for that to be installed. It's an internal project that's being done by our facilities team. And we hope to have it installed maybe within the next 2-3 months.
Are we going to put it in this year or next year?
Doesn't really matter to me if you prefer to report on it after it's actually installed. But we are using bicentennial money to purchase this.
But
to put it up. Yeah. And
So-
it was a donation that was given to us almost 2 years ago from the University of Michigan.
Oh, okay. So the donation came from the University of Michigan,
Yeah.
Prison Creative Arts Project, LSA Residential College Community. So the title? So should here, should I stop? And then, so the mural was the donation, right?
Yes.
Donation. So there was one of these, or there are more than this mural?
The picture down below shows the 3 different sections.
Oh, so it's donation. So, but it's all made by this artist?
Yes.
So the mural, whatever, should we call them series murals? Or it's one single one? It's one single, right?
No, they're 3
of them. Okay, the
3
series.
individual pieces.
Okay. Were received into one from artist. So I guess these are the artist Dario Ratio. He made the works, and then did he donate to the University of Michigan, and then the University of Michigan donate to us?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Did you change this paragraph here?
No, I tried to
Okay.
make sense because the sentence was so long. I tried to make simpler, make it, connected between.
I mean, if you want me to change some of the information there, I think it's all relevant to know that it was part of a U of M project. And I believe that artists initially participated with a group of students to produce these 3.
Right.
So and it's part of.
Yeah, I think that's what wasn't clear. That
Yeah, it wasn't very
artists
clear.
participated. I think you said it, just that sentence. Artists participated with students from the university to create this series. I was confused too about that.
Okay.
Right. So if you could rewrite about this section,
You could just, that first is the series of, is that called the mural, is that called the mural of social?
Yes.
Okay, the series of mural of social was created by artist Daryl Ratu in conjunction with the University of Michigan Prison Arts Project, the residential college, and I mean, whatever, and I think that,
you mean this one should
yeah,
and
in
then
conjunction with, yeah, with that.
the donation came from the artist, we should see, right?
Yes. Yes.
The donation came from the artist Daryl.
I can look at it again tomorrow
Yeah.
and send it back
Yeah.
to you tomorrow so we don't
Sure,
have.
sure. That was
Yeah.
some sentences just need a little clarity. Yeah.
Okay. That's
And
fine.
then I don't think there's any, we just remove all of this, right? This
Yes.
one, remember, we don't need this one. Yeah.
Right. Those were notes. Mhm.
Yeah. So other than that, do you all, like Mary, did you see all the information about your tree town projects are well interpreted here? Okay, so do we have any extra other things to add?
I think it looks great. You did a nice job on it.
Yeah,
No,
about
I
it
mean,
earlier.
Benita helped me and Allison also helped me a lot. Yeah, we worked on it together. Yeah. Mm.
I want to get out to see the basketball court. I haven't seen that yet.
Right, it was there. I saw it
I
already.
want to go
Yeah.
see it.
Mm-hmm. So if Vanilla re-edit that paragraph, we could just turn it into a PDF file and submit it.
Mhm.
Should we do another round, or we will just send a final version of PDF and then everyone will say approve or second it, whatever,
Yeah, I
right?
think we should do that. We'll double check the changes again and then send it back out. I know Allison would like to see it. John probably also still needs to see it. So yeah.
Sure. Excellent.
I do need to, thank you for pointing out, Fung, I do need to change something in the description, so I will.
Yeah. Come on board. Yeah, just
Yeah,
this is all you are all editors, so you can
okay.
work on them.
No,
Yeah.
I saw that it's an editable version. I'll do
Right.
that
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow morning. Yeah,
Sure.
so nobody's waiting. Okay, sorry I didn't do it sooner, but yeah, there's just it wasn't commissioned by Watco, so I just want to make that note.
Okay, yeah, because all
Okay.
these details, yeah. Mhm.
Perfect.
I'm gonna come back in 10 seconds if I could, please.
Okay.
But don't stop.
We're
Keep
counting
going.
down. We're counting down,
Yeah.
Anita. 10.
Okay. Mary, if you have better or more, detailed or whatever working process of the project, you can add one more photo.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we have only the photo. I think Allison gave to. Oh, no, later.
No, I gave that to you, but I can, if you want like an in-process photo, there's a really nice photo of, because one day we did a
Yeah.
workshop with the Delana Center, and there's a really cool couple photos of
Yeah,
Delana's
if you could
residents
put it,
helping to paint it. Yeah.
yeah,
I
that would
will.
be.
I will. I'll go in
Mhm.
and add some juicy bits.
do we
Mhm.
have a photo for the roundabout that you did, Mary?
Yeah, this
Oh,
one we have.
word. Okay, I see that. I do have a
Yeah.
picture. Yeah, I sent one
Yeah.
to Vanita, but I'll add that in too. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'll
Don't
do that
forget,
first
you
thing
can.
tomorrow.
Okay, don't forget two things.
Thank you. I think that fire station project is so cool.
Mm. So that's the chief. He comes on board and he wants to do site specific. It's a mural or more a sculpture. We are still discussing.
He's going to open it up and we'll see what we get.
Hmm.
Does anybody else have any thoughts about the RFP versus RFQ. Do you guys have opinions about that? Because that was just my opinion. That was not like consensus, just my experience. But does anybody else have any thoughts about that? Just in general, open to discussion here.
Let
I
me
didn't want to
stop there.
sway it one way if other people had thoughts about that. Because I know the Art Center loves to do RFP, you know, so does Parks and Rec did it recently, you know, with their basketball mural. What are your thoughts on that? Mary,
I like your input.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really have an opinion, but I liked your thought about, we can do the work, I don't know. I mean, anybody can throw a proposal out there.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
it's fair to think about compensating the artist
Yeah.
for taking the time to put together a proposal. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a really important point and something that people wouldn't necessarily think of, but is
Mm-hmm.
something that is important. And once you explain it, it makes total sense. And you will get, I think you'll get higher quality work.
That's
So
what I'm thinking. Okay, so fair. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I
I
like
think
the
people
fact that
want to see results right away. They want something juicy to look at, but I think it's rushing things, in my opinion, to do
yeah.
that right off the bat.
I mean, when you put out an RFQ versus an RFP, would you, in saying that, your RFQ include that this is the scope of the project and this is what we're looking for right now. We want to see who you are. So they could still have an idea, right, of
Mhm.
what ultimately is going on, but we're just looking for your resume basically first, right? We're looking for your portfolio.
You are, and you can ask very specific things like provide a narrative of how you would approach this project, how you would do your research, how you might engage the city of Ann Arbor and its population. Because I mean, we've been put to that challenge in other cities, and you have to sell yourself as someone that is um, minded that way, that you're not just going to show up and throw some art up, that you're actually considering the neighborhood, the community, the people in your design. Whether you show us a design rendering or not, are you capable of working with us? And what have you done that has come before to show that?
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought it was a great idea, and I do like giving them a bit of money when they move to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was great. That's why it's nice to have you on this commission.
Thanks, Peggy.
Mhm.
You're also lovely. Can you believe it's the holidays?
Crazy.
It's so close. One more week.
All right.
One more.
So what do we need? Speaking of that, I have company coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
What else do we need
Yeah,
to
let's
move
rock
on
and
to?
roll. What do we got? What are we doing here, Vanita?
I think we had, I've got some general comments on the agenda. Um, I have the meeting schedule that actually starts in February. If you'd like me to make some changes to that, I certainly can do that. Maybe we have a meeting in January instead of moving it back so far. I've got a total of 6 meetings this year for us to participate in. I'm also open to, I know everybody's time is very valuable, but I'm open to adding one or two, or maybe taking one or two off. I'll let you all think about that as you take a look through the agenda and look at what we have here for, I think we start early February, February 5th would be our next meeting if we don't look at changing it to January.
I would really like to be able to support the fire station more, whether we pull a couple of members and help them form a subcommittee so it doesn't take time away from our meetings. But I think this is such a valuable project for our community.
So you'd be doing a subcommittee with the fire chief and his team?
Yeah, which
Okay.
if like you said, putting this out to the group, seeing if there's a couple people, and because it seems like their situation is pretty time sensitive. If they're trying to roll out, he has a plan, right? And so,
Yeah.
I think this is an awesome opportunity for the Public Art Commission to deeply advise, right? Where parks, they've looked for our guidance, but they seem to have a couple projects under their belt. They are kind of rocking and rolling. I
I'd
think
be
that-
happy to help on that committee if you need someone to put their hat in the ring.
Okay.
And I
Um,
also like that the fire chief seemed like he wasn't just informing us about the project. He actually sincerely wanted our input, which was nice, which was refreshing.
Yeah, he's very vested. He asked for, we've had a couple conversations before this meeting. So he's asked a lot of questions, wants to know the process, wants to know what makes sense. And he also wants to be very open about how the process looks, how people feel about it. So we have a small layout of how we do our art in the selection bubbles that were made some years ago. He actually asked for that cycle of how we pick art, choose art, and all those different steps that we have within our bubbles. So I know that started him. So if he started looking at that and going through that, he started to ask more questions. So I knew he seems to be very passionate about it. I mean, this is his work, so he's passionate about it. And I think oftentimes when people have the opportunity to do public art, and they're the person responsible, all of a sudden, it's a real thing. All of a sudden, it's very different. So, I'm excited for him to be able to do it. And if we can help, that would be great.
Yeah.
So, we can, Mary and Sarah, I'm not sure about John's time, and I'm also not sure about Allison's time, but for now, if everybody else is okay, if Mary and Sarah, if you raise your hands, are you available for that? Marinetta, are you interested? Do you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
time? Okay. Okay.
I'm gonna have to sit this one out
Okay.
because if we do decide to apply,
Yeah.
it would be a vast conflict of interest. And I know that it's permissible for Tree Town murals to apply if we do from here on out, basically stay out of the process. I can advise as a public art commissioner on general things like we did this evening. But this actually is a project that feels very close to something that we're passionate about, which is directly engaging with departments of the community, and in partnership with the community.
May I make a suggestion, Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you have a lot of expertise in this, particularly in terms of process and materials that we won't, I speak for myself, I won't have bringing to the table. And I certainly understand you're not wanting to kind of double dip or anything like that. But is it possible if we have this small group that we might meet and you could lay out kind of some basics just in terms of process? I mean, I would have never known, like aluminum would be a good thing to use. And then myself and Sarah or whoever else is working with the fire department, when it came to selecting, you would not be involved in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I want to maybe just go back through our bylaws because we had a situation a few years ago where I actually resigned from the commission so that the bylaw could get changed. And Commissioner Rumlawi was our liaison at the time, and he helped push that through city council. So it does allow for commissioners to be artists and to apply for city projects. They just have to excuse themselves from the jurying. So if it sounds like then I could still advise on the general format. No,
We'd
I
have
don't
to, I
think,
don't
yeah,
think so.
yeah,
I don't think so. I think,
yeah. I think that I would have to, but I can actually refer you to um, an artist that, yeah, so I could probably help indirectly, um, just so you have those resources.
Okay.
And I think, talking about that material change, right? Not having that wood necessarily, that's kind of a conversation you'd want to have sooner rather than later. I mean, the chief
Yeah.
would want to make sure that that's not a decision that is like made and paid for already, and can that be switched out, knowing that that wall is the selected wall for art, which it seems like looking at those designs, that would be the best place to do it. And, whether that is 2D or 3D, um, that material is not the best suited,
Hmm.
right,
That's
for art.
interesting. Yeah. I hear you. And I also, it sounds like the design of that building is done.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
It
my
does.
understanding, that whatever art would go on that wall would have to consider the surface, which is not outside of most public artists' wheelhouse. So the thought of doing panels, this may not be proposed by every artist that applies to that applies for that project. There might be ways that artists see that panel as actually a substrate that could be painted on, or things could be adhered to. So maybe that's just left more open-ended on that project. Here's our wall. And then as an
Right.
artist, I would say, well, actually, we want to propose painting the mural on panel.
Right. And then,
That might just be something that I prefer, or certain companies prefer. But other artists might find that material suitable. If it's synthetic, it can be painted. I hope
okay.
so. That's something we should find out for sure.
Yeah, what that material is.
can I raise my hand, please, and ask
Yep, go.
another question? I want to end the meeting here in maybe about 10 more minutes, if that's okay. What I'd ask you to do is look at the agenda that's attached. There are just a few additional updates there for everybody to take a look at. If I could also have some feedback on the selected days for our meeting days upcoming for next year. If people have a better idea of maybe we need to change some times, maybe we're looking at, right now, I think I have 6 meetings or 7 meetings for next year. And if we're looking at making some changes to that, if folks could just shoot me an email of where they'd like to go with the schedule, as even with the time, even with the meeting day, if people have particular days that they want to meet or don't. This is not set in stone. I just selected what I thought we were moving towards. So
Okay.
take a peek at that.
Where is
Aren't we
that,
kind of,
Vanita?
but,
In the agenda, I
It's
don't
part of
see
in the
date.
attachments. Yeah, it's part of the
okay.
attachments in the
Aren't we
agenda.
kind of limited, Vanita, by being able to be on CTN? Do we have
Hmm.
to work with their schedule and when other commissions might be meeting?
Um, we are, but we can, if you let me know what you're needing, we could ask them those things, if that makes sense, because you're right, we won't be able to get, if we've got 4 or 5 meetings on one meeting agenda, they're going to be more apt to go with what our current schedule is. And if people are fine with the current schedule of how we meet thus far, I'm okay with that. I'm just offering if this we stay on this cycle if anybody else needs something different, and whether it be the time change or anything like that. I'm open to those things, and we can certainly ask.
Anita, I'm actually not seeing the schedule on the agenda.
It should have been part of the original meeting invitation, all of the attachments. They probably are not in Mary's meeting here, but they are part of the original
Original.
Will you send them out
Yeah.
to us tomorrow so we can look at that, Benita, again?
Yeah, I can do that.
And then what do you think in terms of the fire station project? How many people do you think he would like, commissioners? Because I'd be happy to serve on that, but I already did one, so I kind of want to share the fun.
I know, I can't wait to review the,
So are you going to participate, Mary, or are you not going to participate? Are you looking at doing this from your perspective as an artist, or are you going to be on the commission? I think we should ask that question, right? Or did we already decide that?
I think
yeah,
she was going to look at the
I'm
bylaw.
stepping away from being on any kind of extra advisory panels. I'm removing myself from,
Yeah, which is
Okay.
a good move. I mean, we'll miss you, but you're going to recommend somebody who can maybe give us some expertise like you, right?
So that would mean that part of, yes, got it. So as we talk about that during our meetings moving forward, you can just give updates. Like if you and Sarah were participating on that group, Sarah could probably give us more information than you could, right? Does that make sense?
so if we decide to apply, I can't be advising how
Right.
the
You
RFQ
can't
or
be
RFP looks, right?
right.
But
Yeah.
as a commissioner, uh, giving objective feedback on how, well, I mean, tonight I was giving advice, right? Or thoughts. So I don't know, was that inappropriate?
No,
Not inappropriate
I
because you're
actually-
not participating and you've not been chosen to be part of that.
Right.
But you're asking now to be a
Right.
part of that committee. That would make your commitment to either be want to be the artist, or do you want to be
advising.
the commission? There's a difference. So I would have to, we just have to look at the bylaws for that just to make sure that's okay. I don't think that, I mean, you have to choose where would you rather be. I mean, you've given a lot of information this evening for him to work with. And it sounds like you would be interested in participating in this project and moving it forward. I just don't want people to look at the art commission and say, hey, she's sitting on the art commission. She's also getting the information ahead of time. And we don't know. I don't want people to be able to say anything along those lines based off of the art commission.
No, for sure. And there have been projects. Well, most of the city projects we've sat out of. Like I didn't apply for the ground murals at the basketball court. We didn't apply for, yeah. So I am first and foremost a commissioner, but I'm also an active public artist in the city of Ann Arbor. And this particular project with the fire department, we are attracted to as a company. So we will not be participating on any subcommittees. And when do we ever discuss RFP specifics in our commission meetings? I mean, our meetings are agenda driven based on.
No,
I don't think there's a conflict of interest if you're at a public meeting and we're receiving an update on the progress of the subcommittee, right? Which would
Right.
just be that we're going to put the call for art out here,
Right.
here,
Right.
and that's a public meeting. So
Right.
anyone could join and hear that information. It wouldn't be asking specific questions. So I don't see, if you're not on the subcommittee, I don't see where there would be a conflict of interest of you being part of this public meeting, receiving updates.
Yeah, it's all good.
Right, because it's a public meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that help, Vanita? Does that clarify?
No, I'm gonna check with the city attorney and I'm gonna check our bylaws just to make sure.
All right, and you're gonna send us the list of meetings, so we may not meet in January, we might not meet till we're gonna stay the first week of the month, like the first Wednesdays in
Do you want to
February.
stay the first Wednesdays of the month? I mean, we don't have a majority here, but we've got 5 of us here.
Well, are you gonna send something out and
I
get
I can
everyone's
send something up.
opinion? I'd
Yes,
like to keep it with that, just because that's what
okay.
we've always done, but I mean, we
Okay.
can change it up.
Yeah, my only time better since I have my son in the soccer practice every Wednesday. So if we can move to Tuesday or Thursday, it will be better for me to be on time at 7.
If we moved it to 7:30, would that help?
Oh, 7:30? Yeah, should be working. Yeah.
I can send out a couple of polls for
Yeah.
everybody and we'll go from there.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a little after 9. If we're okay with people, some takeaways here would be looking at the annual report. If you've got some changes to that, let's go ahead and send those back over. I will double check on our guidelines and also check with um, City Attorney Mary for your questions about the participating in the outside of the art commission chair, if that makes sense. And I do remember you being moved. I remember you moving off of the commission at one point for this very reason. And my one question is if it's something that would continue to be, you're an artist first and foremost. Absolutely. Your impact here on the Public Art Commission is very important. It's very, very valuable. So what I don't want to see happen is you needing to look at a time and place where sometimes you may have to do that. And if that's something that you're okay doing and you still want to participate with the Art Commission, but there are some guidelines or boundaries that we need to have, once those are established, I like to see you continue to participate. So I'm just saying that I just want to make sure we're looking at it the right way and thinking about it the right way. So it doesn't look different and doesn't look funny from the public, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're at 9:17.
Can I,
Go ahead.
say one thing? So Peggy and Sarah and myself will be meeting with Chief Kennedy. Will we have a contact for him? I mean, how do we make that arrangement? I
Well,
would
I
like to do
first need to,
sometime in January rather than waiting till February, because it seems like he's on a time
yeah,
crunch as well.
I'd have to first look at his calendar and look at
Okay.
his current committee that he's working in. I wonder if 3 people from the art commission may be more than what he needs at this. I don't know who he's currently on.
Well, if a couple people, I'm happy to step back
Oh,
and
my.
Peggy and Sarah can do it. That's fine.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm fine too, Marionetta. I can step back and we might have some commissioners who really want to do it who weren't here tonight too. So
Yeah.
I just didn't want to wait till February
yeah, true.
to meet with him. Whoever's meeting.
Yes. That makes sense. I appreciate that. We've got a couple other folks who might be interested too. So I'll send some new notes. I'll send some new edits to the agenda and some reminders to folks tomorrow. If there's a preference to use it, our meetings the first Wednesday of the month, perfectly fine with me. But if anybody else any additional input, just let me know.
It might be for January that we have to go to the 2nd just because of, the first.
Okay.
Like I agree with Marionetta, because we didn't have everybody tonight, it might be nice to have a January meeting.
Okay. That
Just
sounds
a
good.
thought.
Okay.
So in that January meeting, we have to, pass the annual report and finish it.
Yes.
It's like, if it's okay, I mean, it's already 2025. Yeah.
I mean, if people have some input outside of our meeting, and I mean, this is still just reviewing this report here, so we could still review the report. It could still be finalized and may not need to come back in January. We could just actually make the edits and the changes that continue to need to be made and then move it forward. So
I'm fine with
Okay.
that.
I have another question. 2025, are we going to vote for, select the new chair? So is it like a 3 years? I don't recall, or it's just every year?
I think that I think that we've been doing 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. We may have been doing 3, but I think we're doing 2 years
Okay.
as a chair and a vice chair. I know that Allison has done it longer than that for
Mhm.
quite a while, and Sarah too. So I can look into that too, just to make sure if we get a timeline for that.
Yeah.
Are you interested in continuing, Faye?
And I could, because I don't know much about this over the last. I just jump in and I was voted, so I just take it, and then I suddenly realized I haven't been actively participating. Maybe through another year I might be more familiar on this.
I can look at those things and make some notes and double check and send some things back out to everybody if that's okay. So,
Yeah,
and I'm
John
sorry. Yeah,
did send an email to Allison and I about the election of officers happening at this meeting, the one that was canceled, stating that there was going to be some sort of election of officers and that happens annually.
Mm.
But he normally puts out a survey to commissioners where we maybe nominate somebody and we review the current
Yeah.
Chair and vice chair roles. Thank you. But he mentioned that not everybody filled out that survey last year, and so he didn't send it out again. I'm not sure, but it seems like if we have a protocol, we should be following it. So we should probably send out surveys, and we should probably just go through the regular processes. He was.
And Jeff has our templates. I mean, we have his old nomination emails, right, for with the survey questions and everything. So I think it's just having one person send that out and
I think everybody needs to. What happened last year during elections is I was the only person to actually fill out the survey, which he did not read. And then when it came to elections, there was a vote. It was all very confusing. So we should do it properly. The survey should go out. People that are interested in being in a officer position should nominate themselves, and we should go from there. Folks that need to step down should be able to voice that. And if we have room for new commissioners, we should know that so we can nominate new commissioners. Is that John's charge? Is that up to John to send out, Benita? We need to encourage him to do that, or?
I thought he wanted to step down from that role. But he is the only person that is on the leadership and nomination committee. It's a committee of one, and it's always been John. But I remember him saying that he kind of wanted to hand the reins of that particular responsibility over to someone else, which I think is why it hasn't happened this year. But also we had, right, this is supposed to be our planning meeting, but we don't have the full commission here. So maybe rescheduling our January meeting as that planning meeting and also as the election meeting would be the best way to move forward. And like people were voicing, not waiting to February to do that, but to make sure we get that done in January.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sarah. Vanita, could we do like the second week in January? I know just because the new year, actual second sounds too soon to me. Could we propose,
January 8th.
yeah, Wednesday, January 8th? That sounds,
Well, we're missing John, Allison, and Jamal. So
You want to send out a survey?
I'd like to
Okay.
send it. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. But you're right, Sarah, this should be our planning meeting. We need a planning meeting. We need to approve the annual report. We need to elect officers. Yes, so a full January, potentially the 8th or the 15th could be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanita.
You're very welcome.
You're
Appreciate that.
amazing.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good
Sorry
to
for
see
the
you all.
confusion.
Thanks for coming tonight.
I'll touch base with John and maybe send out some packets that will have all that information and that might be helpful for everybody. And John will be excited to know that we're trying to get it together.
Good. All right. See you all in
Amazing.
January.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
Happy holidays.
You guys.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye-bye.